You ain't so point, we all on the grow. From the bottom.
What up?
Look, where do we go? The niggas won't help you, you tired of arguing. You ain't got the paper, you try to bargain with them. It ain't about the paint, it's how you draw the picture. Though I ain't got no kids, they know I follow niggas. Maybe it's just how it is, maybe it's life. What are we the victim of God's gambling life? Brother fell victim to pride. Shut the fuck up and drive. You was raised up in the streets, you know when niggas try to play.
You can get to this combo in a second. Everybody tapping in, share this video for me.
Nobody taught us to invest it. Gamble with your life until you learn your investment. Spiritually tested.
Good morning, everybody tapped in. Let me tag the world up and we're gonna get to it.
You build it, then you test it, and then you manifest it. Whoa. Who knows? But each day gets better. Where do we go?
What up?
When the rough,
Good morning to the world.
when the road get rough, when the road get rough, stand for what you believe. Where do we go?
What up? Turn this down and get outside for a second. It's in this natural light. But yeah, what up, y'all? Early in the morning vibes. I was tagging the world up. But yeah, man, one of the things I was talking about, like something that's been on my heart to talk about, was just like, what happened? Like, what really happened? Like, what happened to my generation? Like, what happened to the lack of care? You know what I'm saying? Like, in the aspect of both sides of the table, like outside of just, I feel like my generation make sure the kids got love, or they make sure that their children are heard like they wasn't. But I feel like it's a lack of balance in this. So what up this morning? And that's what the convo about. Like what happened to parenting? What happened to understanding the good and bad, and understanding it's not about making the kids feel comfortable right now completely. My fault, y'all. But making the kids realize that it's about their future. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I always been asking, like, man, what happened? What really happened out here in the world? I think a lot of people done. In this time, I realized in my generation, a lot of people started growing up, and it's just from me really talking to a lot of people. Like, I remember growing up, and a lot of people used to always say, like, man, when we get older, we ain't gonna beat our kids, we not gonna do this and that. But I don't think that it evened out properly. A lot of our ideas, or should we say ideology, with our children is gonna hurt them more than it's gonna help them today. You know what I'm saying? So I always ask, like, what happened? Like, where was the line separated when it came down to like doing what's best for them and doing what made them happy? And I noticed that a lot of times this comes from like the single households. And it's like we can't care so much about the kids' feelings and about the kids' how they feel and what make them happy and keep them constantly stimulated to being happy, that we forget that the world ain't gonna cater to them the same way, that the planet not gonna cater to our kids the same way. And I just feel like in the generation of my generation, especially, because that's where the real gap really starts falling off in high numbers, is that we care so much about how they feel that we forget about how we supposed to lead them to where they going, right? And I see a lot of parents of our age, and I'm talking about the parents that's, you know, in their 30s to 50s right now, look at how the mindset is with the kids. So everybody's so focused on just raising these kids and doing what these kids want. Like, I notice it, like when I'm walking around, friends, family, when I'm moving around, not everybody, but I'm talking about as a whole, the kids today, they in a different place than where they was and we was. Like, you know, I get it. Don't get me wrong. When we was young, it was some shit as kids that we wanted to change. But some of the things we wanted to change, we needed to wait our turn. And we also didn't understand because we was children. But when I see the kids today, everybody's so focused on doing what they, you know what I'm saying? Like, focusing on what they feel and what they need. I'm not saying that we're not supposed to pay attention to how our kids feel. And I'm not saying that we're not supposed to do the things that we want our kids to have. But some of the stuff is beyond that. Some of it is like we do the things for our kids that we didn't have, right? But I always say we forget that sometimes not having is the foundation of what made us who we are today. You know what I'm saying? That, like, you know, the kids who got everything, a lot of them today, they not in a good place. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of kids that was really super spoiled. And if they spoiled already and their parents got money, then it's already set up for them. We're not doing the same thing for our kids, right? my argument with everybody was saying is that if we only focusing on how they feel and the things that make them happy, how are we prepping them for the rest of the future? That's my question. Anybody can write on the feed. I'm open to anything. You know what I'm saying? That's my question. And for everybody that's been tapping in with me lately, you know what I'm saying? I do got stars. So anybody that be tapped in with my convos, I just want to let everybody know, to educate the audience, that if y'all enjoy the convos, y'all can send stars or do the other stuff, because everything is tapped in now. But I just always like to come forward and have these topics and these conversations with people about how we look at what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? When we talk about, like, I talk to a lot of women, and at first they be mad at me that don't understand, but they got to understand, like, you know, leading your sons to failure is easy. As a woman, right? And we're going to go to men too. But as a woman, right, to be fair, or as a father, leading your kids to destruction and failure is very easy, and it doesn't take a lot. And I don't think people express this. We always express in our communities and in churches and religions, express of how being mean and being cruel and being evil, and how these things affect us and our families and our friends. But they never talk about how being loving can also be toxic, right? Nobody ever explains to the public about how love can be toxic, right? When you think about, I know some men who mother and father loved them to death and spoiled them to death, and they grew up to be horrible fathers, right? Because they never learned accountability, and they never ever learned anything that it took to be going forward. Now, what did mom and dad really do? Mom, she loved them, she spoiled them, she took care of them, she overloved them a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And so, to the point where dad probably couldn't even get on them too much, or vice versa. Dad with his daughters, he overloved his daughters too much, right? Because sometimes a man, he don't really have a successful relationship with his women, but he'll have it, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I want you to understand, sometimes I know men that have put their love in their daughters, which your daughters need it, but there's a certain love for your daughters, and there's a certain over-loving for your daughters, to where, to the point where, like in Behold the Pale Horse, if a father, it says that if a father, if he goes the extra 1,000 miles for his daughters, it's cool, but he also is setting up his daughter to think that every man on the earth is going to do that, right? And it's unlogical, because as they grow up, you know, like the boys get whoopings, the girls don't get whoopings. He more nice to his daughter, but meanwhile, she's going to expect the same thing from her men, right? And that's for the girls that got a father. See, it's two issues. Everybody talk about, we get educated on the girls that ain't got a father, but what about the girls that do got fathers? Because it's girls with fathers who in worse positions than girls who ain't got fathers. Sometimes not having a dad, as I would say, could be a blessing, because you don't have to go through certain things that you might have had to deal with your father. And sometimes having a father could be detrimental, because some people, fathers was raping them. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of shit, beating on them, doing a lot of shit, or not even on that end. Some people have fathers that was good men, but they never talked to them about the important conversations of men, or about the things in life that would help, that those men didn't know how to talk to them girls or their daughters, because it's an uncomfortable conversation that you got to be attuned to self. And that's why I say our parenting skills come from what we feel we got and what we didn't get from our parents. So in my generation, you know, we came up and would say children should be seen and not heard. And now in this generation, children should be seen and heard, right? There's a consequence to pay on both ends of the table here. We can never just look at one thing and say, oh yeah, good morning. We can never look at this one way, right? We always say it's no rule book to parenting, but I've been arguing for the last couple of years. It is. It is. But the rule book means you got to look outside. You know what I'm saying? If we consider ourselves mammals, look at all the mammals. I always say this, and look at how they raise their children. You know what I'm saying? I see the comments. You know, my joints, all my comments pop up late, so when y'all write me, I might not see them right away, because that's how they do me. It says for real, they spoil the hell and entitled. Not many believe that we should physically discipline them, so they came up with the new term called gentle parenting. Gentle parenting is toxic in some sense, right? Now, let me explain. Now, it depends on your child, because everybody has to go on. There's no, like, the rule book doesn't go like, it's not black and white, right? If you got one child and this child go to school, get good grades, listen to you, yo, you got a good kid. Some people have good kids. So with that kid, you only got one kid right now. You might only have one. So you gonna look at the conversation and say, well, I ain't have to beat my kid, because my kid, right? Then you just had one of those gentle souls that came in. But even those need discipline, because even the good ones, they still need to be popped. They need to be nurtured. Sometimes they need to be pointed in the right direction. It ain't always about, the bad in the kid ain't always about his mouth. Sometimes it's his decision making, his or her. Sometimes it's about their attitude, their body language. You know what I'm saying? It says, spare the rod, spoil the child. You know, it's crazy, that quote. When I see that, a lot of people don't get the bigger picture. And everybody watching, please share this video and help me tag. You know how they do me. Spare the rod, spoil the child, right? That's saying, and I tell people all the time, I used to ask people, like, what do you think that mean? A lot of people thought it just meant, like, I'd be surprised people told me it meant, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't beat them, spoil the child. That's not what it means. It's saying that I hope if you're going to spoil your children and you're going to give them everything they want, then I hope that you're going to be disciplining them just as much, twice as much. Because it's not good. Like, and the reason I'm having this conversation, like, I don't see parents, like, it is some parents, I see them pushing their kids, but it's weird to me how much people accept, like, failure. You know what I'm saying? So I be watching this shit every day, and I be out in the world, and I be sitting to myself thinking, like, yo, this shit not good. So going back to gentle parenting, not the jump. Gentle parenting is toxic because in nature, the only way an animal learns is through pain, right? And we ain't no better than the animals, right? So if we give our children an experience full of dopamine, of high levels of love, high levels, right? Just all of the positive, and we never introducing a discipline, structure. Because remember, structure is like discipline, because to a child, structure is discipline, right? And that's why I wanted to come live too, and I want to back up a little bit. They had this conversation the other day in psychology, right? And they were saying how they took a group of, like, girls to young adults and a group of boys to young adults in they free time for like 2 weeks. You seen it? I think I did a live one. They were showing what they did. And they said the boys in their free time, they played sports. They did a bunch of things that had to do with what? Structure. If they play basketball, if it's organized, they got a coach, that's a king. They got teammates, right? And then there's a hierarchy in sports. These are men. So the mentality of men and women to understand our coach and how we separate. Every time they gave boys free time or young men free time, they played sports. So they played games that had a winner, a leader. Now, we all got egos, but see, with men, right? This is what the psychology show. With men, when we out there and we play sports, we all think we them guys. But when we play them games, the ones that dominate when the lights on got bragging rights, right? And then, good morning, bro. And let's say, meaning, and I want you to understand what I'm saying. When you give men free time, they play games with structure. Even when they little, there's a coach, there's like a king, there's teammates, everybody has a job, everybody has a role, and everybody's competitive. That's a man's mind. The world is competitive to him. When men can't figure it out in basketball or sports, they do a jump ball. So when we can't figure it out outside, and whoever win the jump ball win, that's just like when we shoot our fades. That's who get bragging rights. That's how men are programmed. This is why I be trying to explain to women that some things you just not gonna understand about your men or your boys, that you might think that a man is being too much to these boys, but you need to understand who they are and where they come from and what type of mindset. So remember, boys on their free time, they play games with hierarchy, structure, right? And then, yeah, we got egos, but we gonna see who really that. And the winners of them games, you know, rapper, basketball, football, we gonna do bragging rights, right? That's what the dancing, right? That's young man culture. That's man culture from boy to man. When they gave women free time, they played hopscotch, double dutch, they played with Barbies, they chilled, right? When they get into a scuffle, when all of them don't agree, there's no jump ball. They all go home. This is what the studies of psychology say. They all go home. What does that mean? That to them, none of their games involve a winner, right? On average. Now, I know some girls that's tomboys are like that. They trying to win too, but overall, none of their games involve winning. When you playing Barbies, it's not about winning. It's about the social dynamic of everybody playing, everybody having a role. When they playing hopscotch, it's about the group and how they feel, how they teach each other. These dynamics bleed over till we get older, so we not realizing that we already naturally are separated by what we understand and what's passed down, because these games and systems were passed down, right? But they were passed down in the society we live in, so that's why I want to make it clear. In this aspect, when we dealing with a little boy and a little girl, these are two different logics. So when a single mom has to grow up, she's going to do the best she can. But when she got to raise them boys, in her mind, all of the physical shit, all of the men trying to tell her boys what to do, sit down, be quiet, trying to establish authority over them that y'all think is negative. No, that's us trying to show them young boys the world they live in. Y'all don't live in our world and we don't live in yours, right? And then the man, and that's what I say, the man in the same way. A man raising his daughters, only thing we can give them our logical mindset. But we gotta allow them to be, we have to allow them to be emotional as fathers, but we also have to be able to regulate it a little bit to our daughters. See, we can't change our women. Just like a woman, you can't change a man, our daughters, right? The only thing I had to realize that our goal is to change the future, right? We arguing right now with our partners, people that say, I can't find it. You ain't gonna find it. Your job is to instill it in your children, right? But see, if I instill it in my kids to be good men and women, and ain't nobody else instilling it in their kids to be good men and women, then what am I doing? Then I mean I'm setting myself up, my kids up to be fucked over and heartbroken by y'all kids, right? Because if the world don't care, then how does this go on? And I always ask that question. So my issue is when we doing this new generation parenting, which I mean, everybody got a right to do what they want to do. Hold on, y'all, I'm tagging people if I'm looking down. Everybody got a right to do what they want to do. Everybody got a right to do it, but just because you have the right to, and just because you can, don't always mean it's good or it's healthy. So that's what we talk about. It's a lot of people who are raising their kids as their friends, and everybody get mad when people say that, but when you raise your children as your friend, it's going to be hard for you to separate and to be able to do certain things to get them to understand where you're coming from. So everybody getting their feelings about their kids, you know what I'm saying? But it take a village, right? That's the statement. It take a village to raise a kid. So who the fuck told you and y'all selfish ass mindset? See, that's not a man logic. Men don't really be like, yo, don't touch my goddamn kids. If my kids is out there being wild, breaking, doing some other shit, disrespecting people and they little kids, I hope you come knock on my door. You know what I'm saying? If my daughter being disrespectful, you a grown woman, and she running her mouth at you from 6 to 14, 15, and she get up in your face and you pop her in her little mouth and you come to me, I'm gonna check my daughter especially. I'm gonna figure out what happened. But I'm not gonna be so focused on, yo, you touch my daughter, you know what I'm saying? That you pop my daughter 14, 15, body a grown woman, pop and jump in her face, and she's still her. My daughter gonna take that L, and then she gonna apologize to that grown ass woman for jumping in her face and violating her. Niggas ain't built like that. Our society ain't built like that no more. That's what it's about. At the end of the day, it's not about, like, we be so focused on checking other adults because we toxic as adults in America that we can't focus on checking the real issues. You know what I'm saying? Now, when it comes down to striving, we got to push our kids. My argument this morning is saying we got to push our kids to be better. We got to really want them to be better. You know what I'm saying? Like, the world, you know how, like, I see a lot of people who accept, not just women, men too, who accept a lot of shit from their kids, right? To me, that's weak-minded shit, and people get mad at me. I think it's weak to just, like, you can't, let me say it this way. They're children. You can't leave children to their own mind. Right? An idle mind is a devil's playground, right? Y'all don't get the expression? Even if you don't believe in the devil, don't you get it? The idle mind, when you leave kids to learn on their own, they're going to do some fucked up shit. And that's what's going on in the world today. The kids is having to be the adults. Right? The older niggas on the block dressing, acting like the young niggas for what? These niggas lost. We supposed to be looking at them like they crazy. Like, the fuck wrong with y'all? Take them skinny ass jeans off. You know what I'm saying? Little nigga, like, we supposed to, but that's the difference though. But see, as men though, we have relationships with young men more than women have relationships with young women. That's psychology though. Because they say we see the young men, when we see young men, we see ourselves. They say when women see young women, they see competition. And that's the psychology. That's not all women, but the majority, they see them as competition. So sometimes we have conversations, but as men, instead of us, listen, even though we see ourselves in young men and that shit seem powerful, right? It sound good, right? Nah, that shit toxic too though. Because we see ourselves in them, and if we mature, we gonna guide them and chop it up with them on where we relate to them. We gonna guide them properly. We ain't gonna judge them, da-da-da. But remember, a lot of us black men of my generation, 30 to 40, 50, niggas immature and niggas little kids mentally. So when even though we see ourselves in them, we still there. This nigga 20, this nigga 40, but he's still there. Matter of fact, that 21-year-old, he a little bit more advanced because in his generation, they got knowledge. They wake up to this shit. Every morning they wake up, they smoke a blunt, seeing information. Tesla got their history, this shit in their face. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's the issue. I see a lot of times now, like I was seeing this years ago. So my question was years ago, now that these little boys at 7, 8, 9, they mama thought it was cool to make them man of the house. Now these niggas 16, 17, you can't tell this nigga nothing. He do what he want to do. That's the problem. Remember though, I want my women to remember this. The same way how he telling you, he start with you. You the problem. It start with you, because your sons tell you, I'm gonna get better, mom. I'm gonna do better, I promise, da-da-da-da. And you like, all right, I'm gonna give you another chance. You give him his games back. He go back outside, he go back to living life. Next report card come, it ain't right. Every year he promise you something. That's your part. He go out there, get locked the fuck up. That hard-on house you work for, you gonna put it up for him because he told you he ain't do it, and 9 out of 10 the nigga did it. This shit started with you. So your sons or your daughters, whether if it's man or woman, whoever the parent is, when you come to them and you expect excellence from them and they lie to you and you don't discipline them or you don't check them for their lies, then they start feeling like they can manipulate. This is the shit we don't talk about. I see little kids that lie to adults. And if a little kid at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 can lie his way out of a situation with his mother and father, then what do you think he learns? That means he learns that he can outsmart adults, at least he think he can. So he'll start manipulating and using that to his benefit instead of using his mind to do other great things. And that's what's happening. We can't lead these children to their own consent. You leave young men to their own consent, they're gonna go out here, they're gonna make bad choices, and they're gonna try to be men or act like young men, at least what they think is young men off of what they see on TV and off the rap music. And that's why you can see it ain't no guessing. I ain't guessing. Why you think the kids are shooting and killing like that? Because that's what they see every day. That's the reality. Because the TV, mama and daddy not parenting or raising them no more. So they looking up to the TV, and the TV telling them in order to be a man, ain't no man in their household, right? So to them, right, when it ain't no man in your house, young men, we look at TV and say, oh, that's what being a man is? Carrying a pistol, walking around doing that, that's what make niggas feel like they men. And I don't care what environment it in. Niggas be telling you, they be lying to y'all. Even in Cali, that shit phony. Niggas ain't telling the truth. Even in Cali, they misled them young niggas. They lied to them. And like I tell niggas all the time, niggas following down behind niggas who ain't even loyal to each other in Cali. Niggas cutting each other throat, backdooring niggas. You know what I mean? You said YouTube raising these kids? For sure. But that's the issue. You got YouTube, you got TV, and then you got, end of the day, parents, everybody so caught up doing their own thing. Nobody, that's why I say my generation, 30 to 50, ain't nobody even give a fuck about growing up. Niggas just out here doing what they want. Y'all just do whatever the kids want. These kids line up, say it's y'all fault. These kids started lying to y'all, promise y'all they gonna do better and never do better. And then when y'all sorry ass sons and daughters grow up and gotta date one of our kids and we supposed to understand, nah, we don't understand. Cause that's what y'all niggas is doing. Y'all over there over loving on these kids instead of doing y'all job. That's what I think. I feel like my generation, I feel like most niggas is cowards. Do your job. Everybody just do their job. Take care of your household, your kids. Stop worried about being dominant. The issue, everybody trying to dominate each other instead of worried about making sure these kids good. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of people in this society that believe that men like me is a problem, that want kids discipline, that want kids chastised, that want structure and demand respect. And I tell people all the time, that's not on me. That's on the fact of the matter sometimes how people are upbringing. A lot of women feel like that because they didn't have no daddy. You know what I'm saying? So that's what make it a hard battle. Everybody talk about they want a man, but if a real man come in your life and a real man want to fuck with you, can you handle him? Because like I told you earlier, when boys play together, there's a structure. Even when we little kids, yo, I'm this person, you this person. We got a role to play. So when I come in your crib, or if I'm your man or your baby father, I need your sons to fall suit. Look, this is where I'm at in this game, and this is where y'all at. And like I tell my sons, nigga, and when y'all get older, y'all better not ever let y'all sons step over your hierarchy until they grown in their own shit too. That's how this shit work, right? Now, just because, like I tell women, it ain't about just because you a man or just because you a woman. that's not the qualifications. It's the type of person you are. That's what this shit about, right? So same thing. If you a single father and you get, because I know a lot of women that be messing with niggas with kids. So you a man, or you ain't even a single father. You could be a man that got 2, 3 kids already, and these women come around, they fucking with you, and your kids come around. No, your kids, your daughters, your sons, they can't just do whatever. You gotta establish, as a man, you a coward because you know structure exists. So you gotta establish a structure for your daughters and your woman and your baby mother and your woman. That's structure, that's a man's job, right? See, if women be messy, they need structure, but that's on them. But I see men doing it today. Like I seen a post the other day that fucked me up. And it fucked me up because it was like, when did baby fathers become baby mothers? I was like, that shit hit deep. Why? Because the mentality of it is now. So now it is niggas that'll take care of their kids as far as like they'll be there, but the rest of the job they ain't trying to do. Like, yeah, I'll watch them. You know what I'm saying? So I see both sides of this argument. I see the good and bad in it, but it's our job. It's our job to be responsible enough to do the hard work, right? And my generation not doing the hard work. What's the hard work? The hard work is the shit that is uncomfortable, right? If kids need to be, and I say this to my sisters and women in general, if you're not raising your voice at your kids, you ain't doing them no favors. The world don't give a fuck about your sons or your daughter. You see what they got for you? They already showed you they got prison, death, thug, gang for your son and your daughter. They got sexy red. That's what they got for you. And meanwhile, niggas sleep as hell, get up every day and still continue to do the same shit. That shit be bugging me out. And that's what they be like, bro, you change damn, I don't chill with none of y'all niggas half the time. Cause I ain't on that type of time. That shit turn me off. I can see you, if you're a woman, you can be beautiful. I see you with your kids and that shit turn off. Turn on, you know what I'm saying? I be chilling. I done been places like I see all that shit. That's why people always got something to say. And I want to tell you something. People always want to judge and critique you. People that sit around you and say, yo, bro, oh, this man, he talked this and that about da. You don't know what the fuck a person going through in the struggle that they fighting with their husband or their wife and why they always arguing and yelling. Some niggas get drunk and get high and they be high out their fucking mind. Some niggas be arguing because they want them kids to be disciplined, to be yelled at and want structure. Some men be yelling because of the lack of maturity and shit that be going on in the house. Some men be yelling for other reasons. Now, it's a lot of reasons. So the question you need to ask is he a drug addict? Is he drunk? And we're not talking about weed, because I hate when I had him say, you smoke weed. I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Right? I say this all the time. But I want us to always remember that. Like, what is the goal? What's the goal with these kids? Is the goal with these kids to make them happy right now? Because that's what I see. The kids getting everything the fuck they want. They outside, they playing, ain't nobody paying attention, all this shit. We don't talk about that. Why all these black kids go missing? Because ain't nobody fucking watching them. And then the ones that is got good parents, they kids trying to keep up with the kids whose parents ain't doing shit. So they outside and they sneaking out the house, and what happened? They ass get kidnapped. They end up in jail. Mama just trying to do a thing. That's why. So that's why when the statistics show that black women lead, that women lead, not black women, women lead the world in failure. It's not because, I always bring this comment, it's not because women are lesser. It's because the social dynamic of how women are, because they want to love, you feel me? And there ain't nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, a woman, she got to go out there, she going all day, got to come home, she's exhausted. Her body not the same physical specimen as that man. And she come in, but even if she got the energy, she gone all day. And they know this. Kids at school all day with somebody else, you can't control them. Remember, socialization teaches the kids. Meaning that you could teach your kids everything in the world. You could never introduce them to no sin. And as soon as they take their ass to school and meet a couple friends, they friends will introduce them to everything in the world that you tried to hide them from. Kids learn from groups. Kids learn from what they see, not from what you tell them, right? But that doesn't mean, like the psychiatrist said, that doesn't mean that you don't speak to your kids. That doesn't mean that you don't still try to guide them right. And that was the point. They give you all of these lies so you can understand both sides. You need to use your words and speak to your children and speak to your people. You know what I'm saying? You got to be on both ends of this spectrum here. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you just talk to your kids and you don't beat them, it's unbalanced. You feel me? It's like, it's just not natural. And they say, why I gotta beat my kids? Let me tell you something. In nature, I always say that no animal follows its father. Oh, good morning, bro. No animal follows its father, but not because it doesn't learn from its father. When the alpha male is there, the boy's gonna be around him all day. And I give you an example. In the gorilla aspect, every time the boys, it could be his sons or not, every time the boys see the king, they be like they be challenging him. He'll walk past him and just mush him, and he'll knock him over and laugh. You know what I'm saying? That's the power. Daddy is gonna show them the strength, the discipline, the structure. He gonna be stern with them. He gonna make sure they right. He gonna discipline, even in nature. Y'all challenged me this morning. When I get off live, when y'all got some free time, go watch any mammal on earth. Go watch any documentary that anybody made, it, European, black, white, any documentary on earth, and see them with their kids. And then text my phone, call me in the morning. On my mama, I bet you everybody gonna stop talking. There's a blueprint. When you see that monkey, that gorilla, when you see all the mammals deal with their babies, there's a blueprint to this shit. And then not to mention that human babies are the weakest of all species, and nobody talk about it. You got to think about how many babies like giraffes and elephant motherfuckers come out, they standing up, the babies fall out, and within the first day, they standing up walking. Human babies don't got that type of growth. The human baby, the most volatile. The human baby, it take months, it take years before he can even defend himself. I want you to think about this. That's something that they don't teach us. The human baby, we treating them like they the highest on the evolution chain, and the human baby isn't. There's some babies that come out, and by the next morning, these motherfuckers got to figure it out. They still got nursing and stuff, but they walking around and they in danger. The human baby, we can protect this baby in many ways. But the other babies, the motherfuckers come out and they get protected, but some of them start walking around ASAP, a month later. So I want y'all to understand the development of humans. When you look at even like my dog, they come out, 6 weeks later, they eyes open, they walking around 6 weeks, but really they eyes opening. The human baby already got his eyes open, but their eyes open like a week and a half, 2 weeks, sometimes 3. But then by 6 weeks, these puppies fully walking around, eating independent. If you did it right on they fully functional. Now they're not fully dependent, but they fully functional. It's very few human babies that's that functional. And that's the key to this shit and why we gotta be on our kids. They taught us wrong. The human baby is the most volatile. Some babies, like I said, some insect babies come out and within the year, so they grown, they already doing it on their own. A human baby in a year got the smallest curve. It ain't too many animals that babies gotta take that many years to develop to be able to be an adult. So that's why I say we gotta realize that. And then I always tell y'all quotes, and I use different religions to build, because I'm not against it. Look, the Bible says, show me a child when he's 5, I show you that man. So that means you got to that baby 5 years old to shape his personality and his mindset. You got to that baby 5. Now that don't mean that they can't change, but the personality is set. After 5, that means if you let your baby get away with a bunch of shit, cursing, smacking, doing all this negative shit before they 5, that personality gonna exist in that spirit for the rest of his life. Now, if that child grows up and wants better and changes itself and it wants the correction, that it can happen. That's the power. But that personality, that child got to fight the rest of his life because of the lack of responsibility from his programmers, the parents, because that's who we are. So when my homegirl said that YouTube and shit growing up, these kids, these programs. They're watching YouTube, so they out here worried about what's going on in Chicago, not what's going on in the cities they live in. I went to Jersey, and Jersey was down there turning into little Chicago. Then I'm like, yeah, shit was lit before Chicago was lit. But that's the power of the television. The kids gonna follow what they see. And so that's why I say this morning, just be on your children. Expect more for them. You know what I'm saying? Want more for them. Don't think that the lack of discipline is a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Too much discipline could be too much, but the lack of discipline is destruction for their mind and their own desire. Love is good, but too much love is destruction for anybody. You know what I'm saying? Over-loving to create bad fathers. So I just want everybody to always remember that when I be having these conversations and we chop it up, I always bring it because of what I see. When I walk around, I don't see that want of parents. I don't see that same passion about kids and their learning and their education. You know what I'm saying? Like man, they're in the white man's school. Who cares, man? They still need to thrive in it, right? Because they still got to go to school because we still live in Rome, right? So these kids still got to go there. Like, that's what I'm saying. We can have all this knowledge. We're just going to take your kids out of school, educate them yourself, and you ain't got no certification. You're going to do all this shit yourself, and then how you set your kids up. They can't go out in the world with that education. That's the key to this shit. Now, if you successful and you rich and you got your own money and you establishing wealth and you gonna teach your kids, you take them out of school, y'all farming the land, you doing all that shit, and you teaching them and y'all learn a real education for wealth, mind, mental, and that, and you already got a family and y'all own this land for 30, 40 years, 100 years or whatever, and in your family it's already, y'all live on all of this 2,000 acres, and this family member a doctor, this family member a mechanic, this family member, and the kids get to pick which family members they are like. This family member musician, they go over there, so they go over there and they learn the skill sets as kids from their family members. That's how this shit was. Not this illusion of what we live today, like, oh, you go to college. Nah, you could send your brightest to college and they can come back and teach the kids the same skill sets because you start the kids with them. When they in college and they learning their skill sets, they work with their uncles and their aunts or whatever the case. Or if they graduated or got their shops, they work in them car shops, they work in them studios, they work in them whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? They do construction with their parents or whatever, the ones that build, the ones that grow, and that's how you pass down the skill set. Now these kids, they didn't go to college, but they got the skill set and they already have the skill set because they've been in the field already. You know what I'm saying? And now when they get 18, they start where they uncles and them, like, it's as an older generation, we reach the heights, but we supposed to reach these heights and then we supposed to teach our kids our skill set so that our kids start off at 18 where we left off up here instead of starting off on the floor where we started. We here now, so our kids get to start from here. And I want y'all always remember something if I get off this phone. Deepest shit I can say to y'all in the world for everybody who watch me. Your children mentally and spiritually can only go as far as their parents open their mind to, right? Now, very few kids got parents that's not woke and they grow up to be woke as hell, but that's the minimum. 9 times out of 10, it was something that child seen in the family or around that opened their mind. So remember, the kids can only go as far as their parents open their mind.